It is a balmy negative 13 degrees outside. I abided by Doug's rule of taking a freedom pee first thing in the morning, but I got to fess up, Doug. The second pee was not a freedom pee. It was a Sally pee here, and I may have even sat down when I did it afterwards.
Well, then makes it it's excusable then.
But
my pee froze.
Of course you did.
No, we're getting the full Wisconsin experience here.
It is.
Part of that happened last night. We won't elaborate on that. We all stayed up late though. Someone broke a serpentine belt when they tried to leave, and we all woke up this morning.
As always, Ken and I shared a twin bed.
Nick took all the blankets.
Yeah, I did. I did.
But we are just stoked to be here. It's such a beautiful tradition that's been going on for years now, and the fact that I'm here getting to enjoy a piece of it this year, I've just pinched myself a few times. Part of that to make sure I still had feeling in my extremities, but also just to remind myself that, man, the conservation community brings people together like unlike almost anything else. Something I like to say a lot is hunting brings people together, but I think when you mix hunting and conservation into one, it's just crazy how much you have in common with folks that you maybe are only meeting for the first time. And speaking of that, we are joined by a couple of gentlemen here who have also braved the weather even more than I did. They were actually out in a hunting blind since when? Thursday?
Yeah.
Thursday, yeah. Is that right, James? He keeps track. He keeps us on track.
He's got tally marks carved into the wall of the hunting blind. Day 4.
Day 4 with my father.
My father is killing me.
But we are joined by the O'Briens here, Mr. Ben O'Brien and James O'Brien. Left the warm state of Montana.
Yeah, we left Montana. It was 45 degrees.
Wow.
And we came here,
And there was no snow.
there was no snow.
No snow.
Well, maybe the Coriolis effect will kick in here soon. And
We'll switch it. I think like the 3 days we were here in Hunter were the 3 coldest days, and it's going to get a little warmer when we leave.
The
which
3
seems
coldest days of the year so far, and probably for the entire winter.
right. That seems right.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Well, when you came out for sharing the land, that happened as well. You guys came out to do the work. It was 97 degrees and hot as could be. And then you guys came out.
It was 102 degrees.
It was 102 degrees.
It was the hottest day of the year, as I recall.
Yep.
And then you came back to film a hunt, like a pheasant hunt, and it was literally the coldest day of that year.
Yeah, it wasn't even December yet.
Yeah.
I remember we said something like 4 months and 100 degrees ago.
yeah.
I just want to say the common denominator here is Doug.
That's a new saying. Like, should have been here 4 months ago. It was great.
It was great.
You should have seen the bucks. They were in full velvet.
Well, it's great to have Ben and James here. And Ben's been here before, well, a handful of times.
Yeah.
For an event that we held. And then also this past spring, we had a fabulous turkey hunt. That what it has in common for you two is you didn't get any turkeys.
I was going to say, I've been earning my keep already. A real conservationist doesn't get anything.
No, with
right.
Limpy.
Right?
With Limpy.
Yeah, Limpy. That's probably a different podcast.
No, let's just
Limpy.
make like a little note about Limpy. Like Limpy is a phantom.
Yeah, Limpy is a phantom. Limpy's a turkey that we'll probably never see again, or we may see every day
We
until
saw
the season
Limpy
starts.
yesterday.
Well, that's true. That's
Oh,
true. It's a tough cookie here.
Bummer.
Well, we'll see what transpires with Limpy, but that's not what we're talking about now. Let's talk about you coming here and being a part of our doe derby and this antlerless hunt. And
Yeah, we were talking about before. James is 9, by the way, and James we were talking in the cabin this morning, him and I, in front of the fire, trying to stay warm. And we were talking about how many places that he's been just this year. He's been to 8 different states.
Wow.
In the year 20 and 25.
Incredible.
So he's getting around a little bit. But what's beautiful about that for me is to see things through his eyes, because I've been here a few times and seen this landscape, and you build up a place and a group of people and a culture and a way that you guys do things here, which is different than how I grew up and different than where I live now.
Did you grow up hunting?
Yeah, I did. So that part is similar, but the rest of it, very different. And so to see things through his eyes, to experience something that you have great reverence for and romance for, probably is a good word for it, through his eyes, it just adds to, it's hard to put that into words. So, and for him to understand concepts like conservation and what that might mean and why all these people crammed into a big old farmhouse and had a good time last night and throughout this week, I think that's, it's hard to put into words, quite frankly. So that's been my experience, just seeing these really important concepts and important people and just important community through my son's eyes. And that's been good.
I think that one of the reasons that sharing the land resonates with people is, and it's purposeful, right? I mean, or intentional, I should say. It's intentional that one of the big components of it is community and camaraderie. Something that, I don't want to say is lost in the hunting community, but it is something that has diminished. And quite honestly, it's my favorite part of it. I can go out and shoot a deer this afternoon if I really, really want to. Not that I'm telling you guys didn't get one, but I mean, we could have got one. I actually thought I was going to run one in front of you, but that's not my purpose in what I'm trying to do with sharing the land. But then also what this farm has been about.
Yeah. Well, in my opinion, it's a purpose achieved. We come here, and James and I had a conversation this morning. It was -17. It was cold and dark, and we got dressed for hunting, and he went out on the porch, and he looked at me, and I thought, I think I know what that look means. And then I just asked him, I said, did you have a good time? He said, I had a great time. I said, well, if we get a deer, he said, but we're supposed to get a deer. I said, that's not true. We're supposed to have a good time. We're supposed to learn something. We're supposed to be tested. We're supposed to engage in something that's complex and come out just a little bit better, and make some friends along the way. That's what we're supposed to do. Getting a deer is not what we're here for necessarily.
I had a conversation with our mutual friend Ryan Callahan about this, and something that I had been involved with and we were doing cooperatively. And he goes, don't feel the pressure to produce an animal for these people. What you're doing is giving them an opportunity. Yeah. And when you say opportunity is a much wider concept than just the animal. Yeah. And again, maybe something that's not been lost, but I really think is important for us to emphasize is what the opportunities are within a conservation community.
Yep.
I know there's not probably an answer here unless one of you guys have read about it, but something that kind of dropped in my brain last night while you were talking about your experience with James yesterday, Ben, was there's all these studies about when a mom or dad reads with their kid or plays or wrestles with their kid, or I wonder if there's a study of how much did the parent bring them outside and was with them outside together? Because I know I've read a study on like how much time the kids spent outside, but like how much are you outside together? And I'm curious if there's anybody who's done anything on that.
I think they're mostly tapeworm studies, but
Giardia studies.
No, I think that's a great point. We were all swapping so many stories here over the last 24 hours, and I can't tell you how many of them had to do with, oh, my dad made me do this, or my dad took me to do this. Man, that was the best time, or that's why I am the way I am today. And so I think you're onto something with that for sure.
I think we all know that, right? You know it intuitively. Yeah. Like life is an iteration, right? You're just iterating on the things that happened while you were a kid, right? And so you can suppose based on what happened to you what might be happening with your children. And other than the romance of just like following your dad around, which for me, deer hunting, just like we were deer hunting this week, that's what I did. Mm-hmm. And we deer hunted a lot like you guys deer hunt here, so it's not so dissimilar. So you're just iterating on that. You're trying to find ways to look at it a little bit differently and use your own life experiences to shape it and shift it into something that's evolved. But for me, I know that there's no more engaging and complex thing than nature, and there's nothing where you can say, look, you don't deserve anything out here. Nothing is given to you out here. There's nothing. You have no force of effect on it. You engage with it, Like it's a handshake. And so that's for this hunt particularly, just because we were sitting a lot. Patience and persistence was what him and I were talking about quite a bit. We didn't always talk about that. A lot of times we were making jokes and opening the blind windows for a certain reason. And
I understand there was a little gas passed in the blind.
yeah, so that we were having fun too and just being together. We played cards in the blind. So it's not all about some serious, introspective learning, but James and I talked yesterday about every once in a while we got to slow it down and have that conversation and just be like, hey, look at that sunset. Look at the way the light hits those trees.
Yeah.
Did you know about this oak tree? Did you know? Every once in a while, take a beat there. And that's okay. And the rest, you can just be a kid. Don't worry about it.
It's so, it's interesting. What came to mind in that you were saying about being in a blind. My thought process about the blinds have evolved, right? When I first put out blinds that were insulated blinds and whatnot, I was like, nice to have them out there, but that's really not a great way to hunt.
Blinds blinds that have bowling alleys and pool tables and
You never did see that blind, did you?
We never went up
went
there.
out to the big office with the bowling alley and the pool table and the ping pong table and all of that.
Skee ball.
I
Doug, he
believe
told me
it.
the other day, I was playing that joke up. I'm like, there's a blind up there, has a basement and a pool. And he just goes, I know that's not real. You can stop. It's not even funny, Dad.
Go ahead and cut the crap.
Go ahead and move on from this.
but I liked that he was still interested in it.
Yeah, it was.
But so this evolution of it, right? I mean, I have felt a little bit guilty of almost like ruining people with those blinds. Like they're not going out and sitting on a stump with their buckle boots on and freezing their feet and their hands and everything like I did when I was a kid.
Buckle boots.
Buckle boots with the plastic, with bread sacks over your socks that you slide, over your shoes.
The only way we could talk to each other is 2 cups with a string. They don't know what that's like.
It's a long string. But on the other hand, in the last month, as we've been, as the deer season has been progressing, opening weekend, I took out a new hunter, and I was able to sit in a blind with him all day. And we observed a northern harrier come in. We observed I wish we would observe more deer, but opening day, we spent this whole time looking at all of these other things, but then I was also able to talk about what the expectations are. And that's really hard to do that in the, like sitting on a stump or sitting on a 5-gallon, or sitting in a pop-up blind where you're shivering and shaking. And here we're in this nice warm thing with, with office chairs. And so that's a part of the experience. But then also what I have tried to stress with everybody who hunts here is, you also need to get out there and learn how to mooch, how to still hunt, how to sit in that ladder stand, how to, do those things as well. Hunt there's just so many levels to it.
Yeah.
It may not be I would say that a blind is not necessarily my favorite way of hunting, but it sure is a nice option to have. And I've really elevated the blinds. Elevated blinds in my mind. Like, this is a good thing. And I was reminded of that. I mean, Lindsay and I have gone out hunting together, and I've hunted with other people in those blinds. And you're able to have conversations. Heck, we were working in the blind while we're still watching.
Yeah, we had Mom on speakerphone at one point. Like, hey, what's going on?
Oh, that's great.
But yeah, I think 2 things that we talked about in the blind this last couple of days. One, a cardinal landed on a branch and then was hopping around in the snow, and that led to look at that the contrast in color between everything here and that bird. Well, why is that bird colored that way? Why is a male bird colored that way? And then, the baiting habits of songbirds, and then we got to the wild turkey, and then we got on, and off we went. So you can make those observations.
Yeah.
Hey, look. And also the other one is, when it comes to patience, you're going to look at that stump 100 times, and there will not be a deer.
Yeah.
The 101st time that you look, there could be a deer.
Yeah.
And so both of those 2 things are just, I grew up sitting, always sitting, never walking. And then I moved to Montana, and I never sit. I always walk.
Move, yeah.
So I've seen both, but I think they're, you can be in tune as you want to be, even though the windows are closed and the heater's going. You can still tune in, to what's outside there.
Yeah, definitely.
Speaking of the windows closed, is the furnace a problem?
No.
That fan going on and off?
No,
Okay.
no.
Because the furnace.
Yeah,
And if it was a problem, I'd still say no because I don't want it going away.
Well, it's funny. That furnace has been getting a workout this weekend, man. I don't think that I heard it shut off. I'm like, did it break? Because it seems like it's been running nonstop for the last 3 days.
Those, I won't lie to you. Those old doors are really cool. They don't look that energy efficient. I can see the cracks in them.
They don't look.
Yeah, on Friday,
that's on the
me
list.
and Justin were
Replacing
talking,
that door.
and then it just turned off, and then I'm like, this is weird.
Yeah, this is on all the time. I got to keep us warm.
Well, and then James and Ben had the experience of being at my wife and I own 30 acres adjacent to the farm. There's a little cabin there, and it's a little log cabin. And there's only one kind of heat in there, and you got to keep putting wood into that stove if you're going to stay warm.
Yeah.
And,
The first time I showed you, I said, "Here, James, here's how you split the wood." He's like, "Nah, I'm good."
oh, is that right?
And I said, "Are you?" Shortly after that, he was out there splitting wood.
Yeah.
Attaboy.
Nice.
But he did good, didn't you?
It's kind of fun, isn't it?
Is it
You
fun
put that in
splitting
there
wood?
and you bang it with the hammer.
50-50.
What does Leopold say about splitting wood?
Oh, how wood heats twice. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I tried to say that to him the other day, and I stumbled through it. He's like, "Okay, fine." That smart
It
guy
hits
said
you,
something.
several times.
Yeah.
And Leopold quotes are so interesting. I have a few committed to memory, and one of them is about private land conservation and how I'm not going to say the quote right now, but I think the essence of Leopold is that we interpret. When you read his words, then you interpret it, or it settles in your mind differently. And,
Yeah.
like my mantra, it's not ours, just our turn. It's just complete, rip-off is the wrong word, but it's my interpretation of the land ethic, right? Sharing the land was inspired by Leopold and the Riley Game Cooperative, and the idea that we are on this landscape that's been influenced by man, and it needs to be mankind, and it needs to be managed. And so those things are all a part of this whole process that we're going through. Part of the reason you all are here is because we're doing this doe derby.
Yeah.
And the reason for the doe derby was to involve more people with the harvest of antlerless deer and getting deer tested for chronic wasting disease, and really be a part of the citizen science of deer management and data collection and all of that. But at the same time, the fun of it all. I mean, all of those things can be happening at the same time.
That's what we were saying. It's like you be a kid sometimes, and other times you can sit and think about it.
Yeah.
That those all of that is okay. Sometimes you can feel the weight of your responsibility for the land, and sometimes you can just go sit. It's okay to do both. You don't have to over compensate on one or the other. There's some guys that enter the doe derby. They have a hell of a good time shooting does. They probably don't do it the way that I do it, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. So it was cool to see. I feel like you had Wisconsin just perfectly packaged here last night.
Man, yeah.
I felt
good and the bad.
I had that thought too.
We had a little bit of everything from Wisconsin.
you just had it.
here.
There's a guy with a skunk hat or something. I'm like, this is it.
Yeah,
This
there
guy
were
with
a
a
lot.
little onesie that had black stripes on it. Is that camo or is that just clothes that you're wearing in public?
You go to the mall looking like that? Is that what you were thinking?
Yeah, I'm like, if you go like to a restaurant looking like that, everybody's gonna stare at you the whole entire
Not
time.
in Wisconsin,
Not in
brother.
Wisconsin. Not in Wisconsin. That's just
Welcome
normal.
to Wisconsin. It's the
Yeah.
norm.
That's it.
Oh,
That's what
man.
we're wearing. We got to stay warm.
Is this deer camp? Is this what a deer camp is like?
Nicholas is our resident non-hunter, just to remind our listeners.
I had the biggest compliment insult yesterday. I was chatting with the guy, and the guy's name's Matt, super kind, and I was like,
Dude stabbed himself in the kneecap
with a knife. Well, don't out who it is.
and hiked
Jeff go.
five miles
Well, he was
dragging
like
a deer.
when he got the first aid kit, he's like, yeah, first aid kit. Oh yeah, first aid kit. Like,
well, yeah,
oh,
I mean, he hiked
Chopped his
5
knee
miles.
off.
Yeah, hardcore dude.
One
just,
leg.
Just setting this up for you.
So So I come in, got, everybody's wearing like Carhartts, they're wearing hunting gear, they've got orange hats, or they got some sort of camo on. And I come in, and I've got Kent's old coat that he gave me because I can never keep track of my own coat, and a scarf and jeans, and and my shoes are like bright yellow and
Specifically
blue.
the scarf.
Yeah. And Matt, I was talking to Matt, I was like, well, yeah, I'm not a hunter. He's like, oh yeah, I pegged that a while ago. It's the scarf, dude. And I was like, whoa, man.
I never figured that out.
He gets out of his. He got out of his the truck yesterday when they got here, and he's got this, European scarf technique, and
It was very warm.
and and I look at him, and he gets out, and he has these shoes on, and I was like, you might want to put on some other boots, and he goes, oh, these are insulated.
Dude, they're insulated. They're great.
I was like, well, okay.
I've shoveled 12 inches of snow in these shoes before.
He's also watched 12 hours of anime in those shoes.
Yeah, they're very useful in all regards, all kinds.
But other than that, you felt at home.
Yeah, I was shocked how much I enjoyed it. I thought for sure, because hunting is like my 231st favorite thing in the world, right? And so it's like, all right, so for 36 hours, I'm going to sit around and talk about my 231st. And I'll be honest, if the people here weren't awesome, it would have sucked. But like every single person, and felt like 100 of us in this house. There was a bunch of people.
Yeah, there were so many people here that I went and stood
I'm
out by
a
the
st-
fire
I'm a
ring
st-
for an hour last night.
I mistook someone for my dad. I'm like, hey, Dad. Oh, no.
There's 7 of you here. Bearded guys.
But yeah, so I
Bearded guys in camo.
Bearded guys in camo. I go, where's my dad?
Which one of them is my
Let's
dad?
see if my
I'm
dad.
lost in a single room. No, I'm like, man, if this is deer camp, I need to start going. I texted a friend this morning. I woke up at 5:30 to use the bathroom, and I texted him back, and he was like, why did you text me at 5:30? I was like, oh, sorry, I'm at deer camp. And he's like, what the heck? Did you get kidnapped? I was like, well, yeah.
Yeah, the minute that you discover deer camp, you're like, it's okay if I don't get one.
Yeah.
Because that was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
It was.
Otherwise.
We only have a few minutes left with these guys, so I want to ask them, or talk about a couple of things. And one of them is that idea that you, Ben, have done a lot of sort of solo hunting also, where this is this pursuit and that you're going out. And I've done that too, but not at the same level. But it's a completely different thing. It's like bow hunting tends to be kind of a solo pursuit.
Mm-hmm.
Gun hunting, at least the way we do it here, and it seems like it's done a lot of in Wisconsin, where most of my experience has been, is that it's a group pursuit. And you have a place like this that you come to in the camp, and just speak to your experiences about that.
I mean, I think I've always been, I'm a social person. That's just kind of how I run. And so the experience of deer camp is much more compelling to me than, solo, which, as you said, I've done all over the place.
Yeah.
I just don't find the value in that. It's personally challenging. I just don't find the value in that. I always have said, like, when you see somebody that you've been in hunting camp with, even if it was for a short time, you're getting a hug, man. You're getting a hug. And if there's somebody who wants to be a part of my life, whether it's professionally or personally, and we've had a good couple of conversations, I'm like, hey, you want to go hunting? Why don't you come check it out? And a lot of times I just want to see how they do, how they move around the world, how they hike, if they pick their feet up when they walk, James.
Shuffle.
But just to gauge, how they interact with the natural world and what they're curious about, and, for good or bad, not to judge somebody. Everybody has a different way to go about it, but just to learn who they are and how you might relate to them.
You learn that person, or you know about that person after an experience like that, as opposed to a conversation in a restaurant.
Oh, yeah, interesting.
Well, imagine like the difference of me telling you a story and no one was there to see it but me, or me and you telling a group of people a story that we experienced together.
Yeah.
Each story has value, but the second story to me is way more dynamic, way more exciting, has way more life. And when our days are over, those are the stories I think that will carry on. Because when I go and I'm dead, somebody will have to tell that story of that big buck I killed by myself secondhand. But if there was a camp of people around and they were like, they can pass those memories on, I just find more value and
Yeah.
that and hunting is no longer for me a personal achievement. I don't go out there to tell people I did climbed a mountain or shot a deer or shot a thing. That's over. I'm not that old, but that was in my youth.
That's a really interesting point, and I'm trying to understand, and we can get into this after you guys leave a little bit, but that because of the part of the hunting community it's the deer hunting community that I moved through, that I'm sitting as a part of a group in front of a group of people, and someone my age stands up and starts talking about his pursuit of big giant bucks. And it's him and big giant bucks. And I'm just looking at this guy going, how long have you been doing this, man? Is really that what this is your main purpose? I can't, it's impossible for me to relate. And I'm still trying to understand that.
Yeah, I think that's, when I first came into hunting, that's a little bit what it was.
Yeah.
But there was also the dynamic of me and my dad and his friends and their sons, and we had a hunting camp.
Yeah.
We had a deer camp, in fact. Me and James talk about some of the deer hanging in our garage or on the wall or whatever every once in a while, and I'll tell the story. But I have a little board with all these Polaroids from deer camp when I was 12.
Mm-hmm.
I would, if my house was on fire, I'd grab that.
Wow.
Every
Yeah.
antler could burn. I could care less. I really couldn't. It's not that's not part of the memory. It's not that isn't some kind of like token of those experiences, but it's deer camp.
Man.
That's what I remember. So given that we're talking about iteration, like as I iterate on this for my children, I have 3 boys. I just check myself on that.
Mm.
Yes, like Doug said, you don't have to shoot a doe. Like if it's close enough away that you can see that's a button buck, you shouldn't shoot it. But if it's too far away and you can't tell, you can shoot it if it doesn't have any antlers. It just has to be an antlerless deer.
Mm-hmm.
It just has to be antlerless.
Man.
Yeah, antlerless deer. That can be a button buck or it can be a doe.
Though or anything. It's not about the antlers, right? Although James loves to talk about the antlers, which I appreciate.
Oh, man,
So.
me too. I like antlers. We don't have a doe mounted in here, and that's got to change.
He asked that. He's like, "What do you do with how you mount the doe? What do you do with it?"
I need to
He
put
asked
one
that.
up. I need to get one done. Anyway,
Man.
I know you guys have to,
We could go to the
Boogie.
airport, or we'd stay for the whole thing.
Yeah.
and we would have you
We
stay
appreciate
too.
you having you guys on.
No,
Thanks
well,
for
thanks.
hanging out.
Thanks for having us, James. Any last remarks?
No.
All right.
Nice.
There it
Well,
is.
Well, James,
we had a
as
great
I
time
said
with
to you earlier, here's the mark of a good guest when you're the host is, will you please come back sometime?
I will.
Okay, great. I look forward to that.
Love
I
it.
hope he brings me.
Well, yeah, you can bring your dad.
No, it's been good to meet you fellas, and Doug, thank you
Likewise.
sincerely,
Yeah, man.
Lindsay, and everybody. It's like I said, I'm going to write it down how I feel about it. That's the best way I can process it, but it's been fun and special
Very
for
good.
us.
Yeah, it's been great having you guys here, sharing a little bit of deer camp with you. And I do want to say I've just been impressed by, as a dad myself, how patient James was with the whole process from just catching the tail end here, but seeing that he never was like, oh, can we go now? He's sopping it up, and so I think it's it's a credit to him, but also to his dad for instilling that in him. So
He's got 2 little brothers to teach, so he's gonna
He'll do a great job.
He's gonna do it, aren't you?
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
All right.
All right. We'll talk to you guys again soon.
We'll take a minute to thank the companies who make Sharing the Land possible through their partnership with us. First Light Clothing, Turtle Box Speakers, 04 Outdoors, Red Feather Outdoors, Nichols Lures, Decked, Trout Routes, Can-Am, Onyx, Vortex Optics, Savage Arms, First Weber Wildland Properties, and Alex Weber. And last, but certainly not least, Hoxie Native Seed. Thank you all so much for supporting our efforts to bring community, conservation, and cooperation together.
Can I open it up? I've got a question that'll go shoot you right in your right direction.
All right.
Okay. Let me pull it up. So the guy actually asked to be anonymous. here. I've got a couple other questions, but this one is, this one's perfect. I'm gonna let Lindsay pass through. No, you're good, friend.
So this
Fam
is
of
a
the pod.
listener from
Yeah, I don't know if you remember this, Doug, but in last episode you said if listeners have any questions, reach out.
the first episode.
Yeah,
not,
yeah,
not just
yeah.
the last episode.
Yeah.
Well, this might be the last episode.
Yeah, that honestly.
Clap again.
So a few people did. No, we're good because everything stayed running, so I can cut it when we want. All right. So this is a question. They were asked to be anonymous. What can you do as a hunter and as a voter, or getting involved in legislation or whatever you need to, if CWD shows up a couple of counties away?
Why would they want to be anonymous?
I
Probably because whenever you attach CWD to your initials,
they don't want it.
there
They
seems
don't.
to be some kind of reaction.
I find that I just find that interesting, but
I think it's actually more they're a decently sized landowner and want to be sensitive to.
so you know who this person is?
I do.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, I do. I don't know them
Nick
very
looked
well
up their
personally.
IP address.
Yeah,
Contacted,
I gotta know who's
FBI.
coming on
Yeah.
here. Yeah, I let them know. We're naming the bill after them, and when we try and pass it, I for CWD. No.
Well, man, so many thoughts about how we manage deer. CWD is it's a big part of managing deer here now, but this really goes to a wider conversation about deer management. Well, what in that person's case, what are they doing for deer management in their area? We've had a conversation with friends about and on podcasts about deer populations, and one of the comments, one of the things that we were challenged about was there can never be too many deer for hunters, and because it's a subjective thing was the comment, and no, it is objective. There can be too many deer on the landscape. So the question becomes, with that landowner, what about their goals and objectives, but where do they fit into the bigger ecosystem as well? Your land, your property is not an isolated place that, there's spillover from the outside of it, which is probably goes to his question about it's a couple counties away. What should I be worried about? So the first answer to that is exploring your overall deer management idea, what is it that you're doing? And I'm an advocate for management of your entire ecosystem. And that's, it's an evolution on my part. I was a deer guy, that was like, oh, let's do the best we can for deer. And then the more I got involved with that kind of management, we had always been conservation managers here, but it was just like, well, this is folly to be worrying about managing deer. Deer can live anywhere. They can live in the backyard and all that. So the first part is, what are your numbers like compared to what is a sustainable number? Not a carrying capacity. That's a misnomer as far as I'm concerned. Carrying capacity is, especially in farm country, is like, I don't know, we can talk about all kinds of stuff there. But how is your deer population in balance with the rest of the biotic community, with the rest of the ecosystem? I think that's vitally important to be thinking about. And if you are coming from that perspective, you can then start to think about, I'm worried about disease. So if you're thinking about like overpopulation and that kind of thing, and then you have goals and objectives. If you have goals and objectives, like I want to have a good deer hunt, I want to kill big giant bucks every once in a while, then it's a fairly easy, I think, step to controlling the population, getting closer to that, the old QDMA 1-to-1 ratio, same number of bucks is the same number of does, closer to that. We were overrun by does here, at one point. And the biggest part of our population was does, and that was a change in mentality. So that landowner, think about those kind of goals and objectives. Depending on where you are, where this land is, Iowa?
Yep.
I would engage with the Iowa the DNR deer management people get to know your local ecologist, your local biologist. Engage with
state whitetail biologist is an STL cooperator, by the way.
Yeah, Jace Elliott. Right?
Yeah. Great dude.
And he's a deer guy. I mean, he's not just like some biologist he's into deer.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's into the ecosystem. He's into all of that. But he also understands that, well, we have a community that's it's a deer community. I would say that rather than getting involved with legislation from a standpoint of, here's the legislation we should pass, what happened in Wisconsin is that we passed legislation that they should not have passed.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about all the time in the North American model of wildlife conservation that management should be science-based. Deer management in Wisconsin was science-based. It needed some adjustment with deer management and the CWD thing. It needed some adjustment and maybe some better education and those sort of things, but it was sound science, and then it became political.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. Do not it's not even legislation you should pass. It's legislation that you should be concerned that they may try to pass to take that control away from the scientists and the biologists. So that's the kind of thing that I would pay attention to. But
that is kind of an issue in Iowa, right? Is the DNR, not that they're not doing a great job, but they don't have that much power for decision making.
Yeah, they can pass on their best recommendation, but they can't really, enact any serious change from a legally binding standpoint. And that goes back to, what was it, the first of 15 Terry Branstad terms or something like that. I think it was around the 2010s or something like that, where a lot of power from DNR was stripped, and basically they could offer up an idea to legislators, to a subcommittee, and they'd say, yeah, you know what, Farm Bureau, what do you guys think of that?
Well, whatever that is, right? I mean, the Bow Hunters Association, the Gun Hunters Association, whoever that they are, who are the stakeholders that are being allowed at the table? Well, Wisconsin DNR and Iowa DNR are supposed to be managing the state's resources for all citizens, not just for a special interest group.
Yeah.
But what has happened in the political process is that it ends up being a special interest group, and it happened here in Wisconsin. That special interest group wasn't just hunters. It was specifically bow hunters, and then gun hunters who didn't want to shoot a doe to earn a buck tag. So that power was taken away from the Wisconsin DNR. So those are the kinds of things that concern me. This actually, when you start talking about that private land thing, the recommendations versus regulation. I think there's 3 steps in all of this, right? We need to educate people.
Mm-hmm.
And we as educators, or who think we're educators, and the DNR, we need to also, you need to listen, and then, okay, well, where are the areas that we can poke and prod and add things to, and then get that feedback. But so if you educate people about good deer management, healthy deer management, this whole idea of living with the land, not on the land or off the land, but living with the land, which is something that we're thematically really about with sharing the land. If you're doing that, you're thinking about it in terms that are a little bit broader. But the thing that we all have to remember is that no matter what regulation the government puts in place, when you're in an area that has so much private land, it really comes down to the private landowner, right? So we educate, and then we try to incentivize. And a part of what we're doing with our doe derby is to try to incentivize people to harvest some antlerless deer. We're trying to incentivize conservation, camaraderie, community, all of that. And then the last thing, which I'd always like to have be, the last step in the process, is regulation. Educate, incentivize, regulate. Those are really the steps. I mean, and sometimes those things get jumbled up because our government tends to be reactive, and natural resources tend to be reactive, and our DNR reacted appropriately to CWD in 2002 when this happened.
Yeah.
What does appropriately mean? What did they do?
They really tried to control the disease. They had a zone called the eradication zone, and we're going to try to eradicate it. And I will tell you, in 2002, if the DNR would have come to me and said, we need to kill every deer on your farm, would you help us do that? Or will you allow us to do that? I would have said, what? Can we have a discussion about this?
Yeah.
And that's where, but it all happened so quickly. There was some real pushback eventually in that eradication zone. There was a lot of cooperation. But we were unfortunately in southwest Wisconsin, really the first place outside of, where in Wyoming and Colorado where CWD was first identified, outside of that, where CWD became an issue, and it became an issue very quickly. Mm-hmm. And really the only...
Well, usually if it's an issue, my understanding is it's been an issue. You just have no idea it's been an issue the last two decades.
Well, yeah, CWD was here longer than what they thought. But, like they've discovered, they've established that over time. But any time that you have science involved, science is evolving. Mm-hmm. Nothing is ever 100%. It's like you're talking about data-based... and the more data-based science, and the more data you have, the better the science is going to be.
Right. Yep.
So, we're gonna have to bring in the subtitle of the podcast, and that was, what was I talking about?
So when in 2002 they had a strong and appropriate reaction, the DNR did, but
thanks. See. There eventually became pushback, and some of it was a result of public perception. Some of it was, oh my gosh, we're ruining the deer hunting tradition. Some of it was, we have a friend who was one of the sharpshooters. They were having sharpshooters go out and kill a deer. And they were literally, to try to eradicate the disease, means if you're going to eradicate the disease, you got to eradicate deer. Semi-trailers full of deer that they were taking to incinerators and burning.
Wow.
In an area where there was like 1%.
Yeah.
1% prevalence. So one deer out of 100 has it. You're killing 100 deer, and 100 deer are going to... They're testing them all, but they can't hold on to them long enough to then turn it into something else. So, some of that... The Wisconsin experiment, which continues to the CWD experiment, which continues to this day, which I'd like to talk about in a minute, I can understand the reaction to that, right? But there were really good things that were happening, like the idea of Ernebuck that happened before that, which was a deer management, a population management tool that people really resented. And it's like, why? I don't understand. Oh, I don't want to have to shoot a doe. I mean, some of it's, I don't know. Is it a manly man's thing to not shoot a doe, an antlerless deer?
They just don't want to be... Landowners don't like being told what to do.
Well, there's some of that, but the landowner thing was what I was going to drive at. No matter what regulation the DNR puts in place, no matter what calendar the DNR puts in place, or the legislature in this case, as it was happening in Wisconsin, we cannot start the gun season now before the Saturday before Thanksgiving. That is law.
Yeah.
Ernebuck has been outlawed. That is law. This is not from the DNR. This is from the legislature. Mm-hmm. And Tom Tiffany, who's running for governor, was the guy who put all that stuff in. He has no business talking about the science end of it. He was influenced politically.
Sure.
So, but no matter what happens, no matter how the seasons work, are either expanded or contracted or whatever, it's still in an area like this where 95% of the land is privately owned. It really comes down to that private landowner and those hunters that they allow or don't allow on that property, because there's some of that too, who are going to be doing the management. So when it comes to this whole thing with CWD and where we're at with CWD these days, there's nowhere to look. You don't have to look any further than, if you're a hunter, in the mirror of, well, did we do the best we could to manage this disease? And I'll look in the mirror and say, I've been doing what I can with what I've got, where I'm at, with a whole group of people. Right. And we've been advocating for that. On the other hand, there's a whole group in the hunting community and in the legislature and the Whitetail Industrial Complex who've said, don't worry about chronic wasting disease. And I'm saying, own it. It's time for them. And the deer trustee who came up here and told us what to do, the number one thing that he said was, don't worry about CWD. Oh, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's not.
Yeah.
And it'll level off at a low percent, a single-digit percent of 3 or 4%. And we're working with numbers of percent positives in the 25 to 40% range.
Yeah, you have there's some recent data that came out on this, right? For what counties were they again? Iowa County and...
So the 3 core counties, I mean, Dane County is a part of it too, but it's only the western part of the county, and Dane County, a big part of the county is Madison and, sort of a more urban / suburban area. 3 core counties of chronic wasting disease are Sauk County, Iowa County, Richland County. We are in northeast Richland County. So we're in the furthest part away from the epicenter, which was in North Iowa County, western Dane County, southern and southwestern Sauk, and southeastern Richland. And over this, well, I guess 23 years now, right? It was discovered in 2022 in that area. We went through these...
2002.
2002, so 23 years, right?
Yeah. You said 2022.
Oh, okay. Well, see, that's why you're here.
Yeah. Trying to keep us on task.
Keep that man on. So in that 23-year period of time, a lot of things have changed. The DNR, through the programs and the processes, worked very hard for a decade to manage the population and manage the disease. We had Ernebuck, we had extended season, we had all these things. The first meat eater show that we did here, we shot that little buck over there. I shot that little buck in the end of February because we were on we were able to do a management hunt.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I can't do that now.
Yeah.
That got taken away. The landowners ultimately are going to decide what is going to happen on their property. So,
What percentage of, not landowners as in individual people, but landowners as in what percentage of the land needs to have buy-in on quality management practices to make a difference? You think it's 50%?
Specifically about deer?
Yeah.
That's really an interesting question. That's why I like you, Nicholas. You think about this stuff differently than we hunters do, I guess.
Yeah. Thinks about it with a scarf around his neck.
Yeah, well...
I was going to say, I'm a little disappointed that the scarf isn't involved. But to have an impact, that's what regulation is, right? Ernebuck goes across a whole area. It goes across a county. It goes across the southern farmland zone that we're in. So that's a landscape scale impact. But if we have 430 acres here that we're hunting and doing these things on, and then we're surrounded by that same amount of acreage on 4 or 5 sides that aren't doing anything, we're running the deer out of here. They go and stay over there.
Yeah.
So the buy-in, that's what regulation is, right? Because people don't necessarily buy in.
Right.
So what we heard from landowners and hunters, or what they heard or thought they heard from landowners and hunters, was, we don't want the government telling us what to do.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, I'm all about the opportunity. All the opportunity we had. I killed that big giant buck out there on Halloween with a rifle. And I'll say it out loud right now. When deer hunting starts in southwest Wisconsin, September 15th, I feel like as a landowner, I'd be able to go out on my land and shoot it with, hunt with whatever I want to hunt with. A rifle or a bow. What difference does it make?
Sure.
And it can be, because we do have a quota-based, theoretically, quota-based system. I get a buck tag. I get X amount of doe tags. What difference does it make how I shoot those deer? Give me my 2 buck tags. Let me go.
Yeah.
And we will get some real management, I think, that way. And that's where, that's freedom and opportunity as far as I'm concerned. Yet I will get this pushback from bow hunters. It's like, well, I don't want to hear guns when I'm out shooting. Really? You don't want your neighbor to be able to target practice when you're bow hunting?
Yeah.
I mean, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
I had a person who's a bow hunter, not a part of the bow hunting. Actually, this guy was a part of the Bow Hunters Association, said, you act like you own the deer. I was like, I'm not the guy who's trying to restrict people's freedoms to hunt and opportunities to hunt.
Yeah.
I think if we had a more open system like that with the landowner with the high percentage of private land that we have, I think we'd have a better management model.
Yeah, it's an interesting point, and what it reminds me of, and I imagine a lot of people are saying, well, Doug, part of the quota math is they know that not everyone with a bow is going to fill their buck tag, right? But the point is, in this place, you need more deer harvested in order to manage the spread of a always fatal disease that is virtually impossible to get off the landscape. How do you say it? If you don't have it,
you don't want it. If you do have it, you want as little as possible.
Right.
And those are two different things. Like, oh, well, you're never going to get rid of it. Well, wait a minute. Yeah, that's what's called management.
Yeah.
I mean, think of all the diseases there are in the world that we haven't eliminated, but we do manage them. Human diseases, animal diseases, all of that. So what's interesting is when the deer trustee was brought in from another state, and there was a whole group of, well, we should have this guy come in and give us his opinions and expertise as an animal nutritionist, I guess, not an epidemiologist. They brought him in. There was this deer trustee report. These legislation was changed. Some of that was his suggestion. Some of it wasn't. There were some good things that came out of it. I think the county deer advisory councils or committees are not a bad thing. Citizen input makes sense. And those CDACs have input from, not just hunters, but transportation, urban people, the DMAP. I'm actually the Deer Management Assistant Program. I'm that representative in our county, but sort of across the stakeholders in the county. It tends to be very hunter heavy. So that was a great thing. I think that the County Deer Advisory Council, which is mostly powerless, where we establish a quota and we say whether we're going to, how many doe tags or antlerless tags we're going to give out, and then whether we're going to have a holiday hunt. It's not like we're getting to say, we want earn a buck. We do put those kinds of inputs in. But what we've done sort of what it has done, again, giving credit where credit's due to the deer trustee, it's a little bit of that Leopoldian ethic of citizen input into conservation, because if you really want to make it happen, you do it by education, incentivizing, and then regulation happens, right? I mean, then regulation, it's easy to sell regulation when you have those other two things happening.
Yeah. So you've got the CWD that you've been tracing in the area. You guys have really been trying to manage it. I don't know what percentage of the landowners in the area are doing it. Where is the CWD at in your county and surrounding counties?
So so one of the big things was in 2011, 2012. Excuse me. Don't worry about CWD and then this legislation. Really, the regulation to control the population and therefore the disease was abandoned.
And that was the earn a buck?
The earn a buck, extended seasons. That's the other big part of it.
Yeah.
And extended gun seasons where you could shoot a buck. We have a 9-day gun season where you can shoot a buck. The rest of the time you cannot. Whereas you can start bow hunting September 15th and go to the end of January and shoot a buck. So very...
is that the same in Iowa? 9 days for a rifle? Does that include muzzleloader?
It's probably pretty...
No, there's another 9 days of muzzleloader afterward.
Which I took advantage of this year. And,
good.
And I submitted my first CWD test.
Huh.
Yeah. But in Iowa, I think we have early muzzleloader season where you can harvest a buck in October. That's like 8 days, and then I think it's 4 days for our gun 1 season, and then maybe 6-ish days for gun 2, and then our late muzzleloader season where you can harvest a buck is 3 weeks or something.
But bow's like 2 months, right?
You have October 1 through basically, you will say December 1, and then you have around December 18-ish to January 10.
So are those separate seasons, or do they overlap with the gun season? So like if I want to go out and I want to hunt with a bow during a gun season, can I do that?
Only during the muzzleloader seasons. not during the regular gun. They used to call them shotgun season, but
Yeah,
now
yeah.
they-
Dude, all these requirements in hunting like blow my mind that you guys know this. You'll be like, well, in the bottom half of
Well,
this
you better know
county,
it.
you're only allowed. I'm like, that's so much to keep track of. That dissuades me right there. You know what I mean?
Well, it shouldn't, because that's what conservation is, right? People want to talk about deer hunting in Wisconsin. They want to talk about it from a statewide basis. One of the things that's been brought up about, well, the percentage of CWD in the deer herd in Wisconsin is single digits. So what's the big deal? Well, that's because you're taking in consideration the entire state and the deer in the entire state, where CWD, even though it might be there, it's at very low levels yet. Southwest Wisconsin, this county, we're running at about 35% of the deer tested are testing positive for chronic wasting disease. And that has been going on for, from 20 on up in those three core areas of those counties in the 10 to 20% level for a decade or more. And when we start to talk about all the things that influence harvest or population, they're very similar things, right? Predators, well, up north it's wolves. We don't have that down here. So I don't even try to talk about what's going on with deer in northern Wisconsin. I'm talking about an area down here. But we're talking about things that affect the deer population and the harvest. Access to private land is one, right? And of course, that's what we're trying to do with sharing the land. People bring up predators fairly often. Well, coyotes are really our only predator down here, a handful of bears. Hunting styles, the lack of pressure, moving deer off, private land ownership. People do things. You guys are sitting out there in those big fancy blinds now with your guns. No wonder you're not seeing anything. Well, there is something to be said about that if you're not moving deer around. EHD is something that comes up now. A lot of the CWD skeptics / deniers are now talking about what a big impact EHD has. And I'm just like, where? There were 4 reported cases in this state this past year. Well, my friend Bob's uncle's cousin, they had EHD on their place. And I'm like, really? Did they get it tested? Did they call? Well, they don't need. They tell with their nose, that kind of stuff. It's like, well, let's have some science behind that, right? And then the last one is habitat. Well, that's 5 or 6 different things. Southwest Wisconsin, all of those are true in across all these counties. Yet in the counties where CWD has been endemic for 15 years, and then just let her rip for the last decade or so, we are seeing not as much in the population estimates that we're getting from the DNR, but which is an estimate, right, based on data that I could poke holes in, and it really is something that I this year I'm going to follow up a lot more about. Let's talk about these population estimates. I'm concerned these population estimates are off, which I think you'll hear some agreement with that within the hunting community, with the deer hunting community. So again, trying to find places where we agree.
Yes.
But the other part of it is one thing that we can't deny is the kill or the harvest. And what has been happening in these 3 counties is that harvest number is going down and going down. Iowa County last year had in the last 45 years, it was the lowest doe and buck and total harvest in 45 years. Iowa County this year, I'm just going to refer to my numbers here, is down 11.5% over last year. So in 46 years now, right?
Yeah.
So think about that. Those kinds of numbers, just Iowa County in 2024 had 3,000 deer harvested. This year, 2,600. That's a pretty dramatic drop. When I look at Sauk County in 2020, so 5 years ago, they had almost 7,634 deer harvested. In 2025, so far, 5,200. And there is some ebb and flow in that, but that ebb and flow just continues to drop. Richland County's down 20% in 1 year in the harvest. Now, again, there are all kinds of factors that go into that, and I don't deny that. But the trend is everything's going down. And the only thing that's different in Richland, Sauk, and Iowa County than they are in Monroe and Vernon County and Adams County and a couple in Juneau County to the north of us, where they're their harvest is staying more or less the same or going up a little bit. There's always a little up and down depending on the weather and all that. Ours is dropping. All the other conditions are the same. Those counties are starting to have CWD showing up. And, man, we are the cautionary tale down here. Control that population. Control that population. That's the only tool we have to control the disease. So to go back to the original question is good population management is good disease management. No matter what the species is. You can have too many deer on your landscape.
Yeah. Interesting.
It's sobering to be at that point where you can start to see some of that drawn out.
So is it too late?
Extrapolation from the data.
Okay, 2 points that I would want to make is yes, to an extent, it is too late here. We know we're not going to get rid of CWD, and that's one of the things. Whoa, then we're just going to have to live with it. That's right, we are going to have to live with it. So,
but everyone else is saying us living with it means 3-4% of deer getting it a year, and you're saying us living with it is way worse than they think it's going to be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. 40% of the deer harvest that were tested, I should say, in this county last year, tested positive.
Wow.
I'm sorry, in our township it was 40%, 42%, 40% on this farm. Interestingly, we've had a program, an attitude here to really reduce numbers for the last 6, 7, 8 years. And we've successfully done that on this 400 acres, but I'm not sure about, everyone else. But what we saw this year is our harvest is down, but our CWD percentage went from 40% to 16% so far. We've got some deer hanging that we're going to find out about, but that's a step in the right direction. And I'm not, data is data, right? So what does that mean next year? Well, we'll find out, right? So the other point I wanted to make is because of the political stuff involved, because science got removed from it, what is happening in this southwest Wisconsin and throughout this state with chronic wasting disease and deer management is not the fault of the DNR or not even the responsibility of the DNR. It really is the hunting community. And those of you out there who advocated for don't worry about CWD, worry about these other things, don't worry about that, you own this.
Yeah.
The deer trustee owns what's happening here. People who push that have owned it, or should own it. And we're living in the middle of this experiment. Let's just keep checking in. Yeah. And as I've always hoped, I hope that I'm wrong.
Yeah.
What I'm seeing, but it's hard for me to look at this evidence, this science-based evidence, and think, well, things are going just fine.
Yeah.
And we're just going to continue to live in the middle of it. But I think that it's important that the politicians, that the people in the deer community and who have been involved with that who said, don't worry about it, it's going to take care of itself, it'll all be fine, and maybe it will. I mean, maybe at some point it just drops off.
I think the words that are often circulated are, it will level off, and that just hasn't happened.
No, it hasn't happened. Mother Nature has a way, though, also of correcting our mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so maybe that's what CWD is.
Yeah.
Is okay, you guys didn't handle this overpopulation thing. I got, hold my beer. I see Mother Nature handle them. But I got it. I got this. And that's what I see chronic wasting disease as. I mean, EHD is a little bit of that too. People, well, why aren't you worried about EHD? Well, we can't really do anything about EHD. And EHD can have an impact. I'm not discounting the impact that it can have on our herd.
It's interesting. In Iowa, EHD is much more of a. I mean, there's some. So I was talking with Jace last year, 2024, 2023 and 2024 were terrible years of EHD in Iowa. Our yearly harvest is somewhere around 110,000 deer throughout the state for all seasons combined, and it was estimated between 2023 and 2024, Iowa lost 50,000 deer to EHD. I mean, we had those severe droughts for those years, and and the correlation between drought but we also have a CWD problem just across the river from Wisconsin and in a few other states.
And it's it's emerging in northeast Iowa.
But in northeast Iowa, there's not a lot of habitat that connects northeast Iowa to south central Iowa, right? Like, could it migrate?
Sure, but I think that's where some of the other recommendations for CWD management have to be followed and not shrugged off, which are easy to shrug. It's like carcass transfer. And
don't move it around.
Right.
EHD is a completely different disease, and I'm not saying that it's not a serious disease. There seems to be only so much we can do about it. I can't think of anything we can do about it. I know there's companies out there trying to do something about the midges or whatever, and want to sell a product. There's a responsibility with chronic wasting disease because it doesn't go away. It freezes. EHD is done, at least for that year, and then the deer managers can adjust, right? And I'm for that. But then we also have to talk about, okay, what is the healthy population level for deer in a particular area? And deer management is extremely regional. I think if you look at Minnesota's CWD response plan, that they have a regional response plan. It's really interesting. Wisconsin doesn't. What we're really good at is gathering data and, continuing to be an example of, well, here's what's going to happen. So anyway.
Yeah, I think that was, it's a good update on this, and I think a good reminder too, just of the key theme to all of our conversations about conservation. We can't look at our ecosystems with a "it's ours and it's our turn" mentality. I want to get what I can get while the getting's good. It's truly, how does this play out in the long term, long beyond our time here. I've thought of that a lot. Every time I'm in this house, I think of the good times we're having in the present. And my grandmother used to always say, if these walls could talk, whenever we go to we'd always
some things I wouldn't want to hear.
But I think of that when we're here, just all the warm conversations and the fun times and the lively times and probably some of the sad times that have happened in these rooms in this old farmhouse here. And it's all part of a legacy, and we each have our own chapter in that legacy, and it can be recorded how we really choose for it to be recorded. And that same legacy plays out on the landscape all around us, and that mentality of it's not ours and it is just our turn is the appropriate mindset to view all of our activity and enjoyment in this great ecosystem that we've all been planted into.
That's what conversations about conservation are about, right? This isn't. A lot of this is it's very serious business, but in the middle of it all, we can also have a good time, and we can have this legacy.
That's right.
We can have this thought process.